There's only one day remaining in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, but the fight against this deadly nuisance to society never ends. In today's Jamaica Magazine, we shed light on how each and every one of us can play a part in preventing and putting an end to domestic violence in all its forms. Stay right there, an informative show awaits.
Domestic violence and abuse has always been going on. Say to victims, report the matter, seek help, go to your local police. There are persons who are trained in the various divisions to deal with domestic violence and domestic abuse. We have two centers that are currently operational. One is at the Matilda's Corner Police Station. You can call the Matilda's Corner Police Station for that. The other one is at Air 5 Headquarters. That's on the same compound as Constant Spring Police Station. The number is 702-5120 or 702-5121. Co-workers, neighbors, family members, don't sit silently and say, oh, I knew they were having difficulties, but I didn't know the extent. No. Seek help on their behalf and tell your victim or your friend who is the victim, say to them, listen, I want to help you and I'm going to help you, but I have to seek help outside of me.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Friday, October 30. The outbreak of COVID-19 cases at the Golden Age Home in Vineyard Town has been brought under control. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the contagion has been lowered in terms of the risk and the threat of the virus at the facility. Following 3 days of testing the 620 residents and staff, positive results were returned for 65 residents and 22 employees.
All the positive cases remain stable, and that's good, and asymptomatic, except for the first case, who unfortunately has since died. The deceased is a 73-year-old male.
Dr. Tufton was speaking at a virtual press conference on Wednesday. As government moved quickly to cauterize the situation at the state-owned facility, the minister says a meeting was convened with the management team and cleaning service provider to outline necessary corrective measures. He says training of the staff and service provider commenced on October 26. Daily visits by medical officers will continue as the health team ensures that the positive cases are isolated appropriately and closely monitored.
We will continue to do work at the Golden Age Home. It's the largest such facility in the Caribbean, and there is need to ensure that the protocols are observed.
Preliminary data has revealed extensive damage to agriculture crops and farm roads from heavy rains associated with Tropical Storm Zeta. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says extension officers are in the field gathering data, and the Agriculture Minister is to submit a report to Cabinet on Monday. Following this, the Prime Minister says a recovery plan for the sector will be brought to Parliament on November 3.
I would not at this point be able to say what will be the response, except to say that there will be a response. The Minister of Agriculture, as I've said before, all the ministers who have a line responsibility towards the response to this recovery effort from these heavy rains will have to come up with a program.
Meanwhile, funding is to be allocated in the next financial year to carry out drainage work on Marcus Garvey Drive in Kingston. The thoroughfare continues to flood during heavy rains, with recent occurrence during Tropical Storm Zeta. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says a study done by SIA Engineering Company estimates the project cost at $1.2 billion.
We will try to program this in our next year's budget, because we realize that this is critical. And the flooding that you are seeing, it's not just impacting the Marcus Garvey Drive, but all the roads that lead onto it, which would include the Hagley Park Road and the roads leading onto that.
He adds that a national drainage study supported by the Inter-American Development Bank indicates that a main drain is needed to channel water from the Tinson-Pen, Marcus Garvey Drive areas into the sea.
It would play a similar role and function as the Sandy Gully does. taking water from the hills of St. Andrew and taking it through the member from Western St. Andrew and through my constituency as well. Yes, that was built over 50 years ago. And we haven't built a drain of similar proportions since.
Program of Advancement through Health and Education PATH students at Woodhall All-Age, Rock River All-Age, and Moko Primary are the latest recipients of tablets from the government. The devices were procured through a partnership between the Ministry of Education and eLearning Jamaica and handed over yesterday. Woodhall All-Age received 64 tablets, Rock River Primary 21, and Moko Primary got 84. Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Robert Morgan, says internet service will be provided to the users of the devices courtesy of Ready TV. He adds that these schools are among the first in Clarendon to benefit from Ready TV's satellite internet solution.
What that means is that with this internet solution, there's a little bit more equity in relation to our educational institutions and those outside in more urban areas. It means that eventually, if our plans come to fruition, that internet service will benefit the community as a whole, not just the students at the institution.
In order to bridge the digital divide experienced by some students across Jamaica, 40,000 tablets will be distributed to 500 primary schools by the end of November. Ground was broken for a creative industries mall at the Shops at Rose Hall in St. James yesterday. The existing complex in Montego Bay is to be rebranded as a Linkages Center of Excellence that will showcase the best of Jamaica's artisans. It is being developed by private entity Shandiram Limited in partnership with the government, asserting that the industry needs innovation and the development of concepts that truly represent the authentic Jamaican experience. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says shopping is a huge part of the island's attraction, but it remains underutilized. Jamaica's tourism is being built on a linkages concept that embraces the pillars of agriculture and manufacturing, gastronomy, sports and entertainment, health and wellness, shopping, and knowledge. The new shopping experience is being developed in phases, with the first phase set for completion in the 2020-21 financial year. And finally, the Heart Foundation of Jamaica, HFJ, is providing incentives for organizations that enroll employees to be trained in cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, and first aid. Senior Manager of Marketing and Business Development at the HFJ, Nola Philpotts Brown, says the thrust is to get as many persons as possible trained in the life-saving procedure.
We've been encouraging persons to sign up to have their staff be trained in CPR and first aid. Now, if they train, then we would provide medical services to those persons who are in the training session. So we would be providing 20 persons with free blood pressure and blood sugar checks.
She says the Heart Foundation offers CPR training for various categories of persons, including ordinary citizens and personnel in the medical profession. The HFJ will culminate CPR Week on Saturday, October 31, with a Family and Friends CPR course in-house at its Beechwood Avenue offices from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
You've asked for it, and now it's here. The Jamaica Information Service has updated its mobile app. It's easier to navigate, loads even faster than before, talking about top speed, operates seamlessly across platforms, and we're a creative bunch, so it's much easier on the eyes. Now you have quick and easy access to news stories, television and radio features, and a variety of photos right at your fingertips. And you'll get push notifications when new content is uploaded. Download the app on your Apple and Android devices now and get news you can use. Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica on the go.
In our first feature for today, we zone in on the many faces of domestic violence and the measures victims can take to get help. The Jamaica Constabulary Force and the Ministry of Health are just two of the agencies on standby to offer the help victims need. Watch this.
that is an actual story, a story all too familiar. And well, that's a part of my story. Growing up, I've seen my father flip over the simplest of things. He would basically change from an angel to a devil in a flash. I remember this instance. My mom told me that she was coming home from work one evening because she worked very close to where he lived. She was coming home from work, and usually when you're leaving work, it's a lot of persons leaving at the same time, and she was talking to one of her co-workers and she smiled at him. He smiled back, and my father saw that, and when she went home, he was ready for her. He was like, "Oh, see, I smile at my pan the road, you smile at my pan the road." He beat her, he stripped her naked, and he chased her in front of the yard so all her co-workers could see. So all her co-workers could see her.
Domestic abuse or domestic violence is not just physical abuse. The physical abuse basically for us is the end product coming from somewhere else. So you have stalking, you have intimidation, you have threat, you have psychological abuse, the ones that I'll tell you, I play on your emotions as to what I can do.
It was known to everybody that this was the type of person she was dating, this was the type of man he was. Even the security at the gate, the manager, everyone. So it's not like her life was a secret. She could not have any friends. He was the only person she could talk to, go anywhere with. If someone even talked to her and she not acknowledging them, she would get beaten for that. The least good thing, he would flip on her.
Usually, persons who are perpetrators of domestic violence are usually men, and usually they are persons who were controlling over their intimate partners. They tend to have a high level of jealousy, and they tend to be very possessive. And as such, you find that they will have a pattern of behavior where they will always check where the partner is by various means, whether by calling the person, asking the person where they are, also want to know who are they communicating with. So are they communicating persons on email, WhatsApp, other social media platform? They also want to make sure that they know where they are at all times and that they're not interacting with other persons outside, so they tend to want to have them stay home, for example, and lose connection with their families and friends.
A lot of persons knew that my mom was being abused. Well, the type of man that my father was, everyone was afraid of him. My neighbor was afraid of him. His neighbor was afraid of him. It's like anyone who came into contact with him would get hurt because he's not a simple person. I'm not sure if it's because of his build. He's really fit, he's really tall, muscular, so he's not afraid.
As community members, we have a moral responsibility that within our homes and within our communities, once we are aware that there are instances of domestic abuse and domestic violence and we seek help, best place to go? To the police. Ask the police to intervene. Intervention can be that the police directs the victim to a counseling center, because we have partnership with churches, right? We have partnership with other organizations, Justices of the Peace, counselors.
Every time she escaped him, he would either stalk her, chase her, go to her either friend's house, wherever she went, friend's house, mother's house, cousin's house. No matter where she went, he would find her, go for her with a gun, knife, machete, whatever it may be, and she would always have to go back with him. No one, no matter how much they try to fight and help her, he would always get her back. And when she goes back with him, the beating got worse, the abuse got worse, the rape got worse, everything got worse.
Have an escape plan. Your escape plan cannot be where the perpetrator knows that you're going over to your mother's house because he's aware of where your mother lives. The escape plan cannot be, I'm going to go stay by my friend because he knows where your friends are. If it's a life-threatening abuse, that's where you go to the courts to seek a protection order or an occupation order or both.
I would say maybe around primary school. I'm not sure the exact age. I was told that there was a restraining order for me and between me and my father. He should not be about, I'm not sure how much feet from me. He is not allowed to be near me at all. At this time I was living with my grandmother because my mom got full custody now. They had went through court and everything and fought her way, so there was no more hiding from him. He knew where I was living now because she got custody and he had to basically step away.
The protection order will say you are not to be seen, you are to remove one party is to leave the household because of the volatility of the situation. The court may say, look here, one party must leave the household and reside elsewhere. And a lot of times it's the abuser that the court will say, look, stay somewhere else until the matter is heard. Or you're not to be seen in the workplace of the person.
The abuse that my mom endured, the physical abuse and the verbal abuse that I basically endured from my father, it has caused me to basically lock myself away from people. I'm always by myself, 90% of the time I would say. I'm always by myself. Throughout high school, I've had counseling. I was rebellious because I felt like no one loved me. I struggled in the relationship department, friendship. I have anger issues. I've learned to control it because of counseling. I had this teacher, she helped me throughout high school and university.
Comes able to revisit what happened, able to process it in a more positive way, a more realistic way. So you don't put all the blame on yourself, but you realize that a lot of it wasn't your fault, and then help you now to, having dealt with it, to try to move on. Because a lot of persons, because they don't deal with it, they find it difficult to relate to other persons because of the fact that they're still carrying the baggage of what happened to them before.
The Domestic Violence Intervention Centers, one of those facilities that were donated by the U.S. Embassy, and it's a partnership between the JCF and the U.S. Embassy, to create a facility where persons can come and speak about domestic violence and domestic abuse related issues within their home. And so it's a safe space for both victims and perpetrator. And it offers counseling to family members, to victims, also to perpetrators. We have two centers that are currently operational. One is at the Matilda's Corner Police Station. You can call the Matilda's Corner Police Station for that. The other one is at Air 5 headquarters. That's on the same compound as Constant Spring Police Station. The number is 702-5120 or 702-5121.
We also have available mental health and suicide helpline. And this helpline is a 24-hour service, which is toll-free, where a person can call. So it can be either persons calling on behalf of others that they have been exposed to domestic violence. So the helpline is toll-free and it's 888-NEW-LIFE, which is 888-639-5433. And the 24-hour service, 7 days per week.
If you know someone is being abused, say something, do something.
What if they knew that you abused her? Her family?
Mr. Jones.
And your colleagues, how will they look at an abuser? When the law comes knocking, you'll have nowhere to run.
Mr. Brown, you're under arrest. Please get up, hands behind your head and interlock your fingers.
Turn your back on abusers. Report gender-based violence to the police. There's no excuse for abuse. Call the Bureau of Gender Affairs at 876-754-8577.
The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport has been resolute in its mission to put an end to all forms of abuse in society. Just recently, it renovated and outfitted the first of 3 properties that will serve as state-run shelters for victims of domestic abuse. Take a look.
Welcome to Jamaica's first national shelter for victims of domestic abuse.
The place is nice and clean and ready, except for 1 and 2 things. But I'd say I'm happy that we are now ready.
Thursday, October 15, 2020, is a day of achievement for the Ministry of Gender Affairs and hope for women and children who need a space to escape abuse and start anew.
We can take in, I would call them clients, and take care of a family. We actually have most of the rooms ready. There are just 2 unfurnished rooms. The other rooms that are ready can take additional furniture because we want to make the facility as comfortable as possible. So we can do with television sets and bunk beds and desk, toys for the kids and so on.
The location of the state-run shelter cannot be revealed for security purposes, but it houses spacious studio and 1-bedroom facilities.
Canadian High Commissioner toured with me, and the former EU ambassador and the Canadian High Commissioner have been very much involved in our efforts to get these shelters. And I know she's happy this morning that she has come and found that this shelter is real.
I am delighted to be here with Minister Grange today at the first of several nationally funded women's shelters. We all recognize, Canada in particular, the importance of having safe spaces for women and their families. We have seen that the COVID-19 pandemic has put additional pressures on families as they are in isolation, and none too soon. This is a timely undertaking, and I'm heartened to see that it has the space and the capacity to be able to welcome women and their families.
The facility was purchased in 2018 and is the first of 3 properties bought by the ministry to serve as national shelters. According to a 2019 report by the United Nations, Jamaica has the 2nd highest rate of femicides in the world. That is the killing of a woman or girl, in particular by a man, and an account of her gender. Also, Jamaica's first Women's Health Survey in 2016 revealed that 1 in 4 women has been physically abused by a male partner. Minister Grange is urging victims of domestic abuse to call the ministry for help. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport can be contacted at 876-978-7654. Victims may also contact the island's 2 domestic violence intervention centers at 876-978-6003 and 876-702-5120 or their nearest police station.
I'm sure my neighbors hear the screams and cries.
I'm sure by now they've seen the bruises through my oversized glasses.
Can they tell I'm depressed when we speak?
Are they counting my frequent days off from work?
Domestic violence is any pattern of behavior used by an individual to maintain control or power over another. Domestic violence is not just physical, it can also be verbal. If you're in a relationship where you are being abused or know of anyone, get out and speak up. Report domestic violence by calling 119 or the nearest police station. Get out before someone puts you out.
I'm sure you've been told this time and time again. Do not ignore the red flags in your relationship. Sometimes violence shows up early in a relationship, or it can take months or even years to appear. Whether it comes early or late, it's important that you know the signs and act responsibly. Here are some questions to help you identify the red flags. Is your spouse jealous of your friends or time spent away with others? Do they make you feel guilty for all the problems in the relationship? Do they intentionally damage your property when upset? Do they threaten violence against you, your pets, or someone you love to gain compliance? Do they intimidate you physically, especially with weapons? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you may be a victim of domestic abuse. I implore you to be smart and be bold by taking the necessary steps to protect your life. Reach out for help and play your part to make Jamaica a safer place for all of us to live, work, raise our families, and do business. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today's Jamaica Magazine. But no worries, another program awaits you tomorrow and every day after. Same time, same station. While you wait, why not rewatch today's show on our website, gis.gov.jm, or our YouTube channel. And don't you dare miss out on the opportunity to follow us on all the major social media sites for the latest information on government programs and initiatives. I'm Audrey. Until next time, stay safe, stay positive, and stay strong.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.